Hey guys, welcome to the preparation video for E3 of 2015 Kantai Collection Fall events. So this map is another combined fleet map. It uses the new combined fleet, which requires you to have at least you have to have 4 destroyers in your main fleet. You need a light cruiser as your escort fleet flagship, and you require another 3 destroyers in your escort fleet. So you're also not allowed to bring any big ships, so no heavy cruisers in your main fleet, no battleships in your main fleet, and no carrier of any kind in your main fleet. So you are allowed to be cruisers in your escort fleet though. So we're gonna go look at the stuff in the wiki now for the more detailed information. Okay, so here's the information you need to really see. No battleships or torpedo cruisers or seaplane tenders in your escort, and there's no battleships of any kind and carriers of any kind in your main fleet. So you want to be a bit careful about that, because you still need your destroyers in the next map, and if you're doing it on normal or higher, that means you have your ship lockings in effect, because E4 is the one map that has the different ship lock. Okay, so we're going to talk about the things you have to think about for this map. Okay, so if you're doing it easy, don't worry too much. If you have a seaplane tender, you will be fine. Otherwise, if you're doing normal or higher, you must have Akitsumaru for the most part. It's quite literal that you need her, because unless you really stack up on the low amounts of aviation cruisers and seaplane tenders you can stick into your main fleet, you have no air power. So we're going to look at the things that actually cause you a problem with this. Alright, so we're looking at the easy mode stuff right now. So as you can see, you can see the boss, 66 air power for AS+, not a problem here. So that'll be fine with just one seaplane tender loaded with just plain old seaplane bombers. But the moment you hit normal, and this is the same in normal and hard, you're going up to 216. So this is what you're looking at in hard. It's still okay before the final hit on normal mode, but once you reach hard, no Akitsumaru loaded with rippers, you are gonna have a bad time. So I actually have the air calculator up as well, so we're gonna look at that quickly. So this is aircalc.net. It's a little, if you haven't used it before, it's like there's a little calculator application on the web, and you can just choose your ships and then choose how many planes you have of each kind. This doesn't actually matter, because you can modify it here and then choose the map you want to look at. And if you don't know, this is AS+, this is AS, and I think this is AP, and then this should be AI. It doesn't have the last one, which I think is AD. I'm not too sure about that, but you can see I have currently a setup of Akitsumaru and 3 Repus, because that's literally all I have, and it only grants me a AS. This is the result you'll get, and basically it also tells you the things that will happen. So there will be there can be contact from both sides. So the first one's contact, which is when your scout plane finds them and your accuracy and evasion go up. This is artillery spotting, so my side can have artillery spotting, they cannot, because I have at least AS. Remember that if you don't get at least AS, you're gonna get shot down pretty fast by enemy battleships, because they can double attack you. And the last one is night contact, and that is well, that's more for night scout planes and doesn't really matter, I think. But anyways, for the amount of actual fighter planes you need, I have done a little bit of a test. If you have all sheet-ins, it's still fine. This thing automatically updates, so all sheet-ins is fine. I think that's as far as you can go down without really wrecking this. What's the next weakest plane? Actually, I don't know what the next weakest plane is. I think it's one of these types, maybe. Well, as long as you're not using the really screwy planes, you should be okay. But for hard mode, I'd recommend just using a full set of Ripu, so just in case some planes get shot down part way to the boss, you still have something to work with. So, okay, next we're gonna look back at the wiki and some of the other things we need to know about this map. It's another transport gauge map, so it's the same as E2. It's not going to be as painful as E2, I believe, since this time you have air power. You can get the AS and AS Plus to increase your evasion and what you call it, accuracy, so you won't be living on RNG as much. And again, you don't have to kill the boss. You only need to kill the boss if you're trying to aim for an S. Which, on a different note, we're going to come down here and take a look at the drops. So this is the first map that I consider drops mean anything. Basically, there are two reasons. One, Akitsuki is available on this map, so if you're like me and you joined the game a bit later and you don't have her, you can get her. Especially if you missed Teruzuki in the last event like me, and I'm really salty about that still. And you can also get Akashi, so if you need more cranes, you can get her. If you don't have her, you can get her. But those are only two particularly notable drops unless you want to get Asashimo, who I believe is only available during events, and you want more goldfishes. So, we're gonna look at these actual nodes that we'll be going through. So first, you have a choice node. Currently, there's been a tweet by the developers that PT impacts which appear in this map are bugged. They're supposed to take damage from destroyers and small ships, but they don't, and they are currently wrecking everyone. So you want to avoid E node. So E node is right here. It means that do not take B. A is a choice node, you get to choose. Do not go to B, go to C. So we're taking the route of C, D, G, I, H, K. So to avoid going to E here from C, you have to not have aviation battleships. So if you have 2 aviation battleships in your first fleet, you go straight to E. You do not want to go straight to E. E will wreck you. So we're going to be looking at C, D, and H for now. So C, small fry. D, a slightly bigger small fry. And there we have H, which is where the fun parts comes in. They have a battleship. You do not have a battleship. And they have heavy cruisers, and you barely have any heavy cruisers. But that's okay, they don't have any air power, because air power is one of the most important things when you're actually dealing with things like battleships and heavy cruisers. Honestly, if you don't have at least an AS, heavy cruisers can't deal with battleships, but since you will have air power this time, your heavy cruisers should be able to make their way through the battleship, and if you really need it, you have some little bits of air power. Anyways, we look at the boss now. This is on hard mode. It's Seaplane the Princess again. If anyone remembers her from E3 of last events, oh god, that was not a good time. And there's a lot of battleships, so if you actually aim for the S, you're gonna have a bit of trouble because there's 216 and then 264 for AS Plus, which you can't get with just Akitsumaru and no one else. But you can't aim for the AS. The AS is quite easy to hit. As I showed on the calculator, you can actually hit it even if you're using Shidens, which are more common than the Repus, and you can also use the fighter planes that Soru and Hiru come with in their Kaini, and that should suffice. If you really need a bit more air power, put a seaplane tender in and or an aviation cruiser. The only restriction you have is to have 4 destroyers in your main fleet. Okay, so let's talk about the composition a bit more now. So the reason you want to watch what ships you're actually using in this map is because we'll go through a little bit of E4 now. I'm not going to go into detail, but fact is, you need to blow up a submarine in this map. So that's the destroyer's job. Also, it has the armor reduction mechanic that the anti-air princess had in the last event's last map. So as you can see, the recommendation changes between fleets going towards the submarine and the fleets going towards the other bosses to do the reduction. The reductions are off to the side, so they're off to the side, they're dead ends, and they will end your sortie once you reach them, I think. Actually, I don't know if J goes to K. But anyways, once you reach those, you're mainly aiming to kill the boss. These are both installation types, so you're not going to be killing anyone. Actually, I think they're installation types. Is this one installation type? Yeah, they're both installation types, so you need a lot of different ships to manage this, and if the boss is also a submarine, so you have to have a good number of destroyers. In fact, to kill the boss, they recommend just straight up loading up a full-on 5 destroyers at times, maybe a torpedo cruiser. So you want to be careful how much ships you're using. But anyways, we're going to come back to E3 here. There's really not much to say about what you're actually going to do here with your escort and your main fleet, because except that your escort is your main force in this map. Because you're running primarily a torpedo squadron with the smaller ships you have, you'll be relying more on your torpedoes and your night battle than your day battle. You do not day battle with battleships when you only have destroyers. That's just a fact, so keep that in mind. And also, you need drums. So the idea of that is that all drums and the Daihatsu landing craft, wherever you can, stick them onto your main fleet. Your main fleet doesn't take part in the night battle, so if your escort can blow up the remains of the boss during the night battle, your escort can get away with really trashy equipment. And that's basically true for most nodes, even though honestly you shouldn't really be fighting night battles in regular nodes anyway, since you're trying to get to the boss and that's your main job. So I think that's all the important points covered. There's not really too much else, unless you care about the event rewards. You do get a lot more you do on hard mode, as a note. And honestly, if you can do finish the boss on normal, you may as well do hard, because if you can't clear the final boss on normal, you're basically already screwed. Actually, no, wait. That doesn't matter, because you're just trying to clear out the resource mode. If you can blow up all 3 of the destroyers and 1 battleship, you've got to win. So, and you can clear the resource node like that. Because as long as you blow up 4 ships, you have a win. You just need to blow up 4 ships and 3 of them are small fry, you have a win. So you can always aim for that on harder difficulties and just accept that you're going to take blasters of damage. So yeah, I think that'll be all for this map. Resource gauge goes from 300 to 500 to 800, so you have to do your maths again for this, and remember to load most of your drums and your Daihatsus onto your main fleet. Be careful, you probably want to look at E4 a little bit and make sure you have enough ships to go through the different bosses for this, because this is also the map you'll be farming on E4. E3 and E4 are the 2 maps you'll most likely be farming, so you really want to pay attention to what you'll be using. Remember that even on easy mode, if you use a ship, it'll get marked, so you want to do E4 on a high difficulty. Anything that's marked is you won't be able to use it. So just be careful with that, and that'll be all for this map. So happy events, and I'll see you once we get to the next one.